This is Deep Dive into Joy, and I'm your host, Gina Richner. So before we get to today's episode, I want to introduce UTZY Naturals. So what's favorite about UTZY is that they are a small business that crafted their supplements to help go above and beyond. So they have 4 decades of experience in dietary supplement manufacturing, and they also have a wealth of knowledge and expertise to funnel towards crafting each product into the best of its kind. So what's really cool is that they even come in glass bottles, so you're not getting microplastics, and I love that about them. They also have a microplastic detox, which is really cool. So, like I said, they have clean formulas, which I love because I am all about health and wellness, especially after my diagnosis. So, getting supplements that are actually going to absorb into my system and have a wealth of benefits is what's really important to me. So, whether you want to support better sleep, gut health, immune strength, or daily vitality, UTZY offers trusted solutions that work in harmony with your body. Like I said, no fillers, no gimmicks, just results naturally. So you can use my link. It is bit.ly/3, capital ET, lowercase GU, capital R, lowercase r. Or you can use my code, all capital GINA20, and that's going to give you a discount at checkout. I will list the link and code in the show notes so it's easier to find. I also have all of my links and sponsors to the podcast listed under highlights at gina.richner across all of my socials. That's UTZY Natural, because your wellness is their mission.
I'm in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're total opposite. Okay. So this episode is going to look a little different. I'm going to release this one. It's going to be my 1-year anniversary. So I'm really excited. I'm going to make this my anniversary episode. I wasn't going to release next month just because I'm trying to get my daughter through graduation, and it's next month. I think I have something on my calendar every day, but I'm going to release this one for my anniversary. So this podcast is all about testimonies, health and wellness, how God shows up for us. Sometimes we journey through the Bible and, just go through that. So it's all kinds of things, but I'm mainly testimony based. So I want to welcome my listeners onto today's episode. So I want to introduce Daniel Powers, right? Okay. So he is CEO of UTZY Naturals, which is a sponsor of the podcast. And if you listen to the beginning, I already recorded the ad for that. So you can use my link and discount code to get a discount on UTZY. So Daniel is a father of 5 girls. Is that correct, Daniel?
Yes.
I don't know how you do it.
Since I last checked.
Yeah. So your husband, father of 5 girls, and the CEO of UTZY Naturals. So is there anything that you want to add with that?
Oh goodness, I feel like that's enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are kind of the main lines in my life right now. And maybe to go along with kind of your introduction too is Christian as well. So a believer, and something that has been part of my life since I was a young child. So
love that. And you also started Non-Tox Dad, which is on Instagram. So that's something new for you, correct?
It is.
You just started.
So, a lot of friends and counselors have been like, Dan, you should create some content and just share kind of some of your lifestyle, because we live a pretty healthy life, my wife and my daughters, and so it's something that I think in the wellness space, a lot of times it's the mom that's driving healthy decisions in the family. They're trying to buy healthy foods and try not to eat processed junk, and they're kind of always pushing that piece. And I'm kind of like, well, a lot of dads is like the fathers in our families, we should be involved in driving that conversation, and there shouldn't be a process of like feeling that our wife is doing everything and trying to get us to eat better. We should be, as Christian men, right, we should be stepping up to the plate, and we should be taking care of our bodies, and we should know what's going on with the health of our family and our kids, and driving those decisions. So Non-Tox Dad is a new thing I've been working on like literally the last month, but I really enjoy it, and just starting to just educate like, hey, here's how I look at health and wellness from a family perspective. These are things that we can work on and improve. And here's kind of like easy ways to integrate health and wellness into our lives, so it doesn't have to feel like some crazy burden, or you have to go spend thousands of dollars on some weird esoteric biohacker setup.
Right. Like I did. So whenever I first found out I was diagnosed with cancer, it was a total like reset of the whole household. So very expensive, just getting rid of all toxic cleaning supplies and skincare. And, I was a little bit into natural and holistic wellness, but not as much as we are now. So all of our food got overturned, our supplements. So it was a lot. And I think it's very much appreciated having somebody like you on showing, especially as a man and a dad. Like, I think that's awesome, to be a leader of your family. That's amazing. So I just think that's really awesome to have you online and sharing all the things that you've been sharing. It's really cool. So this episode is going to be all about you, Daniel, your testimony, if you have one to share. And then I kind of just want you to go into how UTZY was born and just all about the company after your testimony. So I'm going to let you go ahead. You have the floor.
For sure. Thank you. Awesome. So, so as far as my testimony, so I was raised in a Christian household, really blessed by that. My dad is actually a pastor. PK, right? They say preacher's kids. But so that was kind of always part of our family. My dad's an amazing guy. Ever since I can remember, he's been involved in church life, in preaching, teaching, eldership, etc. So that's kind of something that I grew up in. He had helped start a church when I was pretty young. We lived in central Wisconsin, and then we moved back to the area that I'm in now, in Lake Geneva, when I was about 10, and started a church there with a couple other families. So it just started as a home church. And then, it's just kind of something that I always kind of had a longing for God, in a sense. I can remember as an 8 or 9-year-old playing baseball in little league baseball, and I'd be on the outfield praying for all my teammates because I knew they didn't know who God was, and
that's awesome.
Their families didn't go to church. And then my dad is doing a sermon series through Romans, the book of Romans, and I remember I just felt so convicted of my sin, but then that there was a Savior, and I needed to be covered. And so went through that, and I kind of resisted for a couple Sundays, and then eventually I still can't remember which book we were in, but maybe Romans 6. I remember just being like, okay, I see it. I see how I'm dead in my sin, but I can be made alive in Christ. And so that's when I became a Christian. I was like 12 or 13 at the time, and then I was baptized shortly thereafter. And then it's just been a process of working out my faith since then, I would say. And there's been seasons of pressing in, and then seasons of struggle too in faith as well. Specifically when I was 21, 22, had a bunch of friends that I knew that left the faith, exited. And so just trying to work through a lot of that was a big challenge in my life. But God's been faithful. So we have a fantastic church that we love, that we go to every Sunday. And it's just been a major blessing. And that's what colors my worldview is Scripture. And I'm trying to align myself with that every day as I become more and more sanctified. Yeah.
I love that sanctified word, because we just did a series on sanctification with a friend of mine, because I just felt like nobody really, all the churches I've been to anyways, nobody really talks about sanctification and being fully glorified to God. So I love that you mentioned that. And I think a lot of us fall off, especially, after high school and starting college. It's just a new season of life. You're young. You kind of, not that you want to sin, but you just want to live life, right? So you're kind of just not living and being obedient to God. You're just living for your flesh. I think a lot of us go through that at that age. I know I definitely did. I fell off the bandwagon probably right after high school, clear up till probably my 30s. So it's been, I would pray here and there and read verses here and there, but it was nothing like how God grew my faith through my cancer journey. So, so did you have like any, let's say, I don't know how to put it, struggles or anything being a preacher kid? Like, because I know a lot of people feel like they struggle, or like even moving to a different church than, where you grew up in, stuff like that.
Yeah. The preacher's kid, my dad was, he was in a biblical eldership process. So it wasn't as much as like the one guy that's doing everything. It was fairly diversified through a couple of different elders. So he was an elder and he did a lot of the Sunday service teaching, preaching.
Okay.
But he wasn't like the preacher, like the only guy, It might be a lot of other churches. So I didn't feel as much pressure like that because it wasn't like we were necessarily put up on a pedestal, but yeah, so it always seemed normal to me, and there was families that I grew up with for a long period of my life, and our families have been friends for decades, and so it was a pretty small church. So yeah, so I didn't notice as much of that, but yeah, I think eventually we had transitioned to a different church, and so that a lot of that was kind of like a ordeal to kind of work through that and what that looks like, and just following the Lord's leading, But yeah, I look back at kind of like my youth years and time spent at churches as a blessing. So yeah, a lot of good sermons and a lot of great friendships.
So can you go through a little bit more of how? So you said like your friends kind of fell off the bandwagon. Did you always have your faith through those times, or do you feel like you fell off too a little bit? Just in those younger years, and how did God get you through that?
Good question. I think I don't know. I think I maintained my faith. I don't know how to really even say that theologically per se, but I think I maintained kind of my faith. It was more of like I saw ministry leaders that I trusted really highly and appreciated, and then they essentially fell in sin, and their ministries like went to zero overnight. And so experiencing that was really difficult because these were really talented teachers that had really good theology, and they were really good at like walking through scripture and proclaiming truths. And so for me, I was like, well, the truths that they're proclaiming, like, I think it's true. Like it's from scripture. Like it's very precise and it's just there. But the people themselves were, potentially not aligned well. I don't know if they believed those things that they were teaching. Okay. And so for me, the challenge was trying to discern, should I throw the baby out with the bathwater? Like the people all kind of, at the end of the day, they were in sin and they were not repentant. And it was like, do I throw out their message as well? It's like, well, the message is actually pretty good because it was like, it was legit scripture. And so I think for me, I had a hard time kind of parsing that all out for a season. And so that was more of like my struggle of, should I just throw all this out or should I retain? And so kind of where I ended up with over probably an 18-month period was, this is scriptural truth that I believe in. But these people, again, ministry leaders, they were kind of proclaiming that, but maybe not believing it. And I think I kind of think of like Balaam's donkey in a sense, where you have that donkey's like proclaiming truth, right? But it's a donkey, right? So it's kind of like that. I don't know. That's kind of how I think about it now.
So did you notice, like, did any of those people ever come back to ministry? Like, you're not following up with them? They're still not in your life?
It's been like a solid decade at this point, and so I've kind of just moved on, I would say, with my life. I've got married and had kids since then, and so it's like, so it's just not on my radar as much. So yeah, I'm unfamiliar. I don't really know how that all went. I pray they found their way, back.
Yeah. So moving into that, as you got married, how how did you come together in your marriage with a Christian faith? Like, was your wife in faith too? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so so I was homeschooled as a kid, and so that used to be a little more of a niche thing. Now it seems like everyone's like homeschooled.
Yeah.
But like early 2000s, early aughts, baby, like not everyone was homeschooled back then. But so we were in kind of like kind of its own little niche within that world. Is like kind of homeschooled, Reformed theology kind of viewpoint, Reformed Baptist. And so that's kind of a small world in and of itself. And so we used to go to a lot of the same conferences, like Christian conferences.
Okay.
So my wife is from Texas. And so we met at conferences, like these conferences that we would go to once or twice a year with my family. And then we just kind of stayed in contact. And so that's kind of how we met each other. And then her family is awesome. Her dad is a preacher as well. She's from a big family of 7 kids. So very similar kind of growing up in many ways. And so it was a really kind of natural fit when we started developing a relationship and hit it off from there.
That's awesome. So how do you two parent together to just kind of like raise your kids and be obedient to God? So how's that look as a family now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things is just teaching them what God is teaching me and kind of walking through that. So a big piece for us is after dinner is doing family devotions together around the dinner table. So that's a practice that we're working on. We're not perfect. It's not like every single night. We've got a lot of little babies still that are pretty young, and so the attention span is like the size of the noodle sometimes.
Yeah.
But we work on it, and so just putting in reps right now. My oldest Gwen is 7, and she's starting to really understand things, and we'll talk to her about kind of more deeper things of the faith, and she'll retain it. Like we were talking last night about, can you earn your way to heaven? Can you be good enough? And she was like, no, you can't. Like, works, you can't do that. I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's a big piece, is just having those practices of family devotions regularly, Sunday service, and then I think because I was raised in a Christian home, it's like a lot of times when you're a kid, you can kind of lose sight of why you're doing all these things, and it can be very rule-based. And so I try and, when I can, like break down the why behind what we believe versus just being like, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
And so, so those are kind of some of the ways that we do stuff, and they go to Christian school as well, which has been great. So there's a lot of really good reinforcement there as well.
Yeah. So what are the ages of your girls?
Oh boy. 7, 5,
Putting you to the
4,
test.
2, 1.
7, 5, 4, 2, 1. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
So what does that look like for you on a daily basis? How are you, so you have non-toxic dad. So how are you incorporating the family into that?
Yeah. So one of the big pieces, social media is a whole world into itself. I do not like it per se, but it's something that I'm growing in and learning too. But yeah, it's just kind of the big thing is like, how can I teach my kids things and then just share that along the way? So one thing I've been doing is I've been putting together slideshow presentations and then talking to my kids about microplastics, and
I love that one.
Seed oils, and so and I just shot a couple more over the weekend, and so it's a lot of fun, and some people really love it. Some haters out there.
I was going to say, you said you've been getting a lot of hate on that, right? Is it the microplastic one or just all of them?
Someone was hating on seed oils.
Okay.
And, so yeah, I don't understand why people are crazy on the internet, but it's to be expected, I suppose.
Right. They're much more bold behind the keyboard, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So just share a little bit more about what you're sharing on Non-Tox, Dad. And is that just on Instagram?
Yes. There's TikTok, but I'm too old for TikTok.
Yeah, I know. It's rough.
But yeah, mainly on Instagram, and then I want to do longer form YouTube videos as well, kind of breaking down topics, because I love health and wellness. I was raised in the industry, so I'm really into it, and happy to share kind of what I've learned over my 30 plus years of life. But yeah, so a lot of it's just kind of teaching with what I teach my kids, and then also just like, hey, here's practical wellness tips for families. And so kind of just trying to put stuff together there, and again, help educate people, and make it approachable, and not make health scary. Every week they're like news stories that come out. It's like, eggs are bad for you, they'll kill you. The next week it's like, hey, eggs are the superfood. The next, X, Y, and Z. And it just goes back and forth like every other week. And I know a lot of people that aren't in like the health space, they're just like, they don't know what to believe. And then they just kind of throw their hands up, and they're like, I'm just going to go with what's easiest and eat foods that I like. And it's like, so my whole thing is, how can I boil down health and wellness as much as possible, and kind of like, decipher between health and hype. So that's kind of my goal, and we have a lot of content coming too. So I've been working a lot on it. So trying to help people out.
I love that. I'll list all the ways that they can follow you in the show notes too at the end.
Awesome.
So how do you feel about, I know you've been eating, and I forget what you call it. You're eating the same thing every day. What's it called?
Yeah, boy kibble.
Boy kibble, that's it. So how did that come about? Where'd you find that at?
Well, so meal prep is really important. And so one of my things for dads is like, your wife shouldn't have to make your lunch for you. You should be making your own lunch for yourself, and it should have really good macros, and it's not that hard. Like, that's my platform. Like, I'll get up on my soapbox, but it's like, your wife should be making you lunch. You can do it. I promise. And, but yeah, so I initially started meal prepping when I first got married. And I love cooking, actually, but, initially every week I was making some fancy thing. It was like meatballs, all this stuff. And I was like, man, this is like really complex and takes a ton of time. And it's expensive, because I was like making kind of custom meals every time. And then eventually I just kind of came to the idea, I was like, yeah, I should just ground beef, rice, sweet potatoes, and some fermented veggies. Like, that's everything you need. It's protein, carbs, and then, kind of fiber, essentially, and for your gut health. And it's like, you can just kind of take those basic components and make whatever you want. So it's like, if you want to be more high protein, you want to have more balance, you want to add more fat, you can kind of just mix up the ratios, and you can have your perfect meal every time. And it's insanely easy to prep it. I do it Sunday night. I just cook up a couple pounds of ground beef, chop up some sweet potatoes, and I usually keep a big vat of, I'll have a huge bowl, and I just take a couple bowls in the office, leave them in the fridge, and that's my whole week. And it's like, it's so easy, right? It saves money, and it gives you amazing macros. And so boy kibble is something I've had every lunch for the last 5 years, basically. And I love it. I still look forward to it every day.
So what do you say to all the haters out there that say eating the same thing every day is not good for you?
Oh, I think people's desire for novelty is what's keeping them from reaching their goals.
So true. That is so true. Do you have any advice on how to stay on a budget and still be able to eat? Like, we go grass-fed meats. Everything's pretty much organic, so my grocery bill is horrible. But do you have any advice for those maybe just starting out? Like, what's the best advice? What's the first thing to go to?
Well, I'm a huge Costco fan.
Okay.
My Costco bill is insane.
Yeah.
But I love Costco, so if you can join some sort of warehouse, that's usually your best pricing. And again, boy kibble as the meal is really cheap, actually. It's like ground beef, so it's a couple bucks a pound. You can do rice, which is incredibly affordable, or sweet potatoes, and then some kimchi or sauerkraut, whatever your preference is. I also like cottage cheese too, but it's all pretty affordable. And so I would just say, if you find a good basic meal that you really enjoy, you can kind of just repeat that. I've never added up the cost of like a boy kibble bowl, but it's got to be the best value that you can possibly get.
So do you try to go organic too? I know like no seed oil, stuff like that. Or
as much as possible. My brother actually has a grass-fed beef farm, occasionally I'll be able to get some beef from there if they have supply. But yeah, again, I love Costco has a grass-fed beef as well, which works well. So yeah, the area we live in doesn't have amazing grocery stores or health food stores.
Same.
So we're a little bit limited. But we actually have a natural grocers that is actually coming live next month. So that's like awesome. A kind of a mountain Colorado chain, I believe. So I'm very excited to see what their produce section looks like. But yeah, whenever I can. And I would say if you're just starting out, I would just focus on eating. You don't need to worry about, everything being organic or grass-fed. Just start getting the right foods themselves. And then you can kind of layer that in as you get more budget or as you kind of get further down the rabbit hole.
Now, does your brother, is that just like a personal business farm, or does he sell online? Does he have an online or?
He might sell online. It's kind of tricky to ship a lot of like meat stuff. But they're Alden Hills Organic Farm in Wisconsin. So if people want to look it up, you can.
Can you spell that for me?
Pardon?
What was the last name? His name?
Alden Hills.
Alden
Hills Organic Farm.
Okay.
But there's usually in most areas there's local farms around. We are trying to get a quarter from him this summer, so we'll see if we can snag that. It's a big thing is always trying to store it as well. So
that's true. That is true.
Freezers. So Facebook Marketplace, you can always find like a cheap freezer. So there's ways to do it.
Yeah, we try to stick to our local farmers as well, just also support them. And I know it's a major struggle for a lot of farmers, especially these days. So we love supporting our local farms. So let's just move into UTZY Naturals. Like, I want you to just like kind of start at the beginning. Like, I know you said it was a family business. So just kind of start there and tell us how it was born and like what's going on with it now and all the things.
Of course, sure. Yeah, so UTZY, first off, is named after my great-grandma. Her name was Ursula. I believe she's born in Germany and came over to America. And so her name was Ursula. They called her UTZY for short. It's her nickname. So my family's been in the supplement industry for actually multiple generations at this point. So my grandpa on my dad's side, he used to work for his brother, and his brother ran supplement companies like in the 60s, like early kind of days. And then my dad grew up doing that, and he ended up essentially working for his uncle. And by the time he was 19, he was running all his factories. My dad's a super industrious guy. He ended up starting his own brand about 35, 40 years ago called Orthomolecular Products. They sell to doctors' offices all across the U.S. So if you do like functional or integrative healthcare, those are typically that brand Orthos in all the clinics.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he started that from the ground up way back in the day. And then he's built that company, over the years, and he has an awesome team there. And so growing up, like that was like our dinner table discussions is talking about health and wellness. And we'd have like, I would call them semi-famous people, like come over to the family dinner, like Jordan Rubin. He started like Ancient Nutrition and Cardinal. And so that was like a lot of our, just growing up is just conversation, what we talk about. So that was kind of always the background. And then when I finished college, Dad was like, well, what do you want to do for your work? And what are you thinking? And he's like, I had this idea for kind of a newer brand that we could launch and kind of go a different direction from ortho and build something that's unique. And what we saw is, for doctor brands like ortho, there's a different quality product that's available. If your doctor has it at their office versus what you would find at like Target or GNC or something like that. There's like just a different type of product. And so we're like, what if we could take that same quality product that's in the doctor channel and then make it available, on Amazon or at health food stores? So that's where we built out UTZY. And so we've been going for a while now. And then Dad was kind of co-running it, leading it, and then I took over as CEO, president, whatever, last year. So I've been running it kind of the last year and a half. And so, yeah, it's been really enjoyable. A lot of our viewpoints on health and nutrition, as far as our supplements, is we look at kind of what are the basics. And so we have a really fantastic multivitamin, multi-mineral. And one of the things that we're missing from our diet is not only the vitamins, but a lot of the minerals. We're just not getting it in our foods. And so are essentially use kind of that baseline multivitamin, multi-nutrient is what we call it, that folks can take to kind of fill in all those gaps. And then from there, we've kind of branched out to different products over the years. So we have some really fantastic products for heart health, for sleep and stress, and then some really nice stuff for kind of seasonal challenges with like sinus and respiratory type of things for spring. And then a new product we launched last year, and one of the first products that I've taken from like kind of conception all the way through was called Microplastics Daily Detox. And so I spent 2 years researching microplastics and their impacts. And so it's crazy because there's actually not a lot of research of how to get rid of microplastics. Once they're in your body, we know they're kind of everywhere and in everything, but there's not a lot known of how kind of the body works through them. So I started digging into whatever research I could find, and we built one of the first products ever kind of focused towards that, where it's helping your body to naturally kick these things out.
I love that one. Does it cross the blood-brain barrier? Your supplement, do you know that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to look into that. Primarily, we're looking at how our product works is helping to support your body's natural detox pathways.
Okay.
So God's given us an amazing system that's able to kind of tag some of these particles and remove them. The issue is we get exposed to so much that a lot of these plastic particles end up getting embedded into our tissue. And so what we found is with an interesting phytochemical called sulforaphane, it basically helps to amp up some of the detox phase 2 processes and kick the microplastics out.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. I've done testing on microplastics. There's like some blood tests that are starting to be out there, but it's crazy because the entire field is like brand new. And even a lot of the testing is hard. The accuracy is actually really tricky because a lot of labs people use gloves and they use plastic vials and everything is plastic.
I know. And all of our food is wrapped in it. I always like when I'm cooking, I'm like, you can't win. Everything's in plastic.
Yeah, it's a tough one in many ways, and but I'm excited though because that's a good product to kind of like if you think you have kind of the excess exposure, it can be a nice way to help alleviate that, especially for folks that travel a lot. Like I was just traveling in Texas last week, and if everything feels like it's in plastic already at your house, when you travel on the road, like every food, every drink of water you have, everything comes out in plastic bottles. So, we're trying to help build products that help people to thrive despite all the toxins that we're exposed to. Yeah.
So, how often would you recommend taking that one?
So we built that as we call it daily detox.
Okay.
So it's not like a heavy hitter 1 week and you feel terrible the whole time. It's kind of a light daily process that helps to support your body on a daily basis.
Okay.
Because we get exposed to microplastics on a daily basis. So we're kind of giving you that daily support. That's kind of how we look at it.
Right. So what would you recommend for someone just starting out? Maybe they're not taking any supplements. Maybe they were like me and a couple of years ago found out they had some autoimmune disease or cancer. What would you recommend for them just starting out?
Yeah, I've actually thought about this a decent amount, and I don't know if I have an amazing answer right now because it's something that like that I actually want to build out kind of like a baby steps of health, kind of like Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, I think one of the first things is just the things I would look at is just moving daily. So exercising your bodies, whether that's going to the gym or just going for a walk, getting in steps. I think that's a huge lever that we can pull is making sure we move our bodies and we're sweating. I've talked with a lot of doctors and they talk about detox, right? Mm-hmm. Your free detox is pee, poop, sweat. Mm-hmm. That's free. Those are things we can do every day. And so eating good foods, getting fiber, moving our bodies and sweating, we remove a ton of toxins that way. And then drinking, enough water to help flush things out. So those are free things that anyone can do. And it just takes some focus on those areas to add into your daily routine.
Right. So how do you feel about all the biohacking, like the red light, saunas? Like I've been jumping on the trampoline because I have the MTHFR gene, so I already don't detox the way I'm supposed to.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I try to move my lymphatic system daily. So I've heard like just jumping on a mini trampoline can help open that up. So I try to do that on a daily basis. But how do you feel about all those biohacking?
Yes.
Newly things that are coming out. Like there's so much.
Yeah. So, I like biohacking in a sense where I like kind of like, oh, these are interesting things we can learn and we can apply. Mm-hmm. So I like kind of like more of the lower, lo-fi biohacking kind of stuff. I do have an issue though with like kind of more the Brian Johnson crazy biohacking where people are trying to live forever.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, and no. I have some pretty strong views. So I think it's like, red light, grounding, all these like types of things, awesome, like great things to do. And those are kind of things we've traditionally always done as humans, right? But kind of all these like crazy space lasers and psychedelic drugs, I'm like, you guys have lost the plot.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, viewpoint, and I think a lot of it comes from a non-Christian view. It's like mm-hmm. all they have is the here and now, and so they're just trying to optimize that for as long as possible. And so it's like for me, my life isn't just my body. It's my faith of going to heaven and some of the legacy with my girls beyond me too as well. But it's like, so my hope isn't in this world, and that's not what I'm trying to, invest everything into.
Right. And like you said, some of those things are free too. Like going outside and stepping in the grass, getting red light from the sun is, so beneficial, especially if the first thing in the morning, like just letting your eyes be exposed to that and just go out and sit on your deck for like 10 minutes in the sun and stand in your grass. It's free and it's simple and it's something that could really help your body. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And so like, I sell supplements, right? That's mm-hmm. part of my life, but it's like, I'll tell you, go outside and get free vitamin D.
Mm-hmm. That too. Yeah.
Don't spend $1,000 on a red light panel. Like, just get some morning sunshine. Like, do all the basics first, and then if you want to get a little fancy and you really like the tech and stuff, like you can kind of layer it on. But none of that's needed to live a healthy life. If you think about traditionally, there's I think there's been like 100 billion people in the history of the world, something like that. I read this stat, and it's like no one had red light mm-hmm. panels until the last like 50 years. And guess what? People have thrived for generations. And so it's like it's fun to play with, but by no means do you need all of that to live a healthy life.
Yeah. So have you heard about the nicotine train? Have you jumped aboard on that, or how do you feel about nicotine, like the gum and the patches? I know it's a big topic right now, and it's very controversial.
Yes. So I have dabbled, I guess you could say, in the past, and like last year is one of those things. Is like, I was kind of interested because I read a bunch of the research on it as a kind of a neurostimulant. Mm-hmm. It was interesting, but then I realized that there's a crazy addictive piece to it, and it's something that I'm like, I don't want to add that to my life. I already drink way too much coffee.
Same.
That's my drug of choice.
Yeah.
And then I've also seen a bunch of young men that I know, and they have gone too far on that train. And I think it can slip into an addiction as well, in a very negative sense. So I would say anti-nicotine, And if you're going to do it, I would say do very low dose and do it in a form factor that does not have a quick hit release. So a lot of like the pouches, you put in your lip and it's like instantaneous. And I think that's going to be a net negative because the addictive nature of that is very high. And it's very easy to do. And so patches that are kind of more slow release or even gums seem to be better options. And it's kind of more of a slow feed that your body gets over time versus this quick hit because your body's going to want that quick hit continually. And then, you have someone that's going through like a pack of Zins a day and it's like, that's not healthy.
Yeah, not beneficial at all.
That's right.
Okay, Daniel, I like to ask my guests these three questions on every episode. What is your favorite Bible verse? It could be for this season. It could be of all time. It could be anything.
The one I always come back to is 2 Corinthians 5:21, and I can read that too. I put it on here.
Okay.
This is New King James Version, but it says, "For he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God in him." So that's my all-time favorite. Every time I come to it, it's kind of like, if you read it within context too, especially, it's like kind of shivers. It's just like, it kind of blows my mind every time.
Yeah. What is one thing you would tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to take more risks. I think it's more like, I'm more of a perfectionist by nature. And so I like to have everything be as perfect as possible. And as I've gotten older, I realize life in this world is very messy. And so kind of just taking imperfect action is a lot better. And so taking more risks, I think that would have suited me very well, but I'm learning now too, so that's okay.
Yeah, you still got a lot of life ahead of you. And what legacy would you like to leave behind?
So I think from a family standpoint, I think is my daughters, my 5 daughters, and just pouring into them and their lives and who they might become and their children, who their children might become. Like that's a legacy right there. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's that. And then from like a work perspective, I would say, I think if I could have a legacy of impacting the health of people, helping people live healthier lives through creating, helpful products or information or books, I think that would be amazing. And that's kind of where my life's work is going to be on that side of things. And so I would love to have impact there.
Yeah, I love that. So let's have a little fun. We'll move on to rapid fire. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Oh yeah, coffee.
Yeah. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird, 4:30 every day.
Oh, that's way too early. That's one of my defaults. I am not a morning person. So if you have any advice for morning people, that would be great. Sweet.
No, it might not be you. Some people, God wires their brain differently.
I just can't do it. I can't.
Yeah. It's all good, but I can't do the late night thing. So it's like, sometimes God gives us different body clock setups. So It's not the end of the world.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Favorite vacation?
Oh, goodness. This is a big debate with my wife and I. I'm not a beach person.
Oh.
I like history and like mountains and stuff like that and adventures, and she's more like, oh, let's just go to the beach.
Same.
What was the question? Sorry, this is
your favorite vacation.
I would say a history tour in some like historic area, like Boston or I don't know, something like that.
Have you ever been to Boston?
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah, I would like to go sometime. If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh goodness. I'm so bad at remembering songs. I don't know. We'll go Happy by Pharrell, but
oh, I love that.
I hope that's accurate.
That's good.
I'd like it to be. How about I'd like it to be?
There you go. What is your go-to for best relaxation?
For me, I'd say my comfort, my wife and I, we like to watch Frasier.
My husband does too. That's so funny.
I watch half an episode of Frasier and go to bed right away.
Yeah.
It's like, it does it for me every time.
He's Frasier, Cheers. Yeah, it's funny. Something you can't start your day without.
Coffee.
Yeah. And if you had
coffee to work at.
What's your favorite coffee brand? I'm just interested in
my own coffee. I'm a bit of an enthusiast.
That's cool.
And so I buy my own coffee and then I roast it, and I do a pound per week, and then I do usually a V60 coffee every morning, which is like a pour over.
Yeah, that's what I just recently switched to pour over, just because I didn't want to be drinking out of plastic. Yes. And I buy my own coffee beans that are like organic and mold free, and I grind them myself. So I just recently started doing that, and it tastes a lot better. I think it does. Okay. If you had a warning label, what would it say?
Yeah. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. On the spot on these, I didn't read some of these because I wanted to go fresh, but I'm going. I should.
You should have read over them.
The warning label would be. I don't know. I think if I'm focused, give me some space. There
you go. All right, Daniel, I want to thank you so much for your time, for coming on today, and just for my listeners for tuning in. I will, like I said, I'll list all the ways to contact Daniel and my code and link for UTZY Naturals. That'll give you a discount. But please go support them. Like you said, he has 5 girls and a family, and it's a beautiful family, so all of your support would be wonderful. You can hit the follow button on any platform that's going to update you when new episodes are released. Like I said, I will release this episode as a special in May, and I'm going to be taking a little break, so everything else will be starting back up again in June. You can leave review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. You can also hit the download button, and that's going to just download. You can listen wherever you go, and if you can't listen to a full episode, you can always come back to it. You can reach me on Gina.Richner. That's on all social platforms. You can also reach out to me at gmrichner@icloud.com. If you're interested in coming on, I'd love to have you. But as always, go out and find the joy today. Bye, friends.